The MoneroTopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Alrighty. So.
All right. Oh, wait. Actually, I want to bring this up. It's what's the name? Quadria Chaleta. Thoughts on running a small competition for some updated artwork, banner art for the site? Yeah, actually, I've been thinking about that for sure. Actually, I was thinking maybe the logo itself, then the icon, and then the banner, the top banner. Maybe we'll run a separate contest for each. Sorry about that, but yeah, that's a good point. I might even try to do it this week. But yeah, Tux, what is the big news? And it somehow was controversial, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
the Monero community can make anything controversial, but I do get into it. I'll give you my take on it.
So, about a week ago. I went a week ago actually. Now, let me make this a little bit smaller. There we go.
I think it started on the show. I think you brought it up on last show. You're like, hey,
I did, yeah. Literally a week ago, I created a petition for Proton VPN specifically to add support for Monero, which fingers crossed that'll apply to the rest of Proton. But essentially, David Peterson, who is the general manager for Proton VPN, publicly stated if you could get a petition to 1,000 users, then we will put Monero support on our summer roadmap. And there wasn't an initial day goal, but a thought that Keith told me was that because he sort of mentioned before the week, he kept saying before the weekend, even though that wasn't a requirement. I'm assuming they're going to look at their roadmap again on Monday, and the goal was for this to be at 1,000 by then, so they can commit to shoving Monero in there. So, assuming David Peterson sticks to his word, which I think he will, he seems like he was very serious about it, and he seems very excited about this himself. Monero support will be added to Proton VPN. And once again, because of how the Proton account system works, I'm assuming that the other products will either add it themselves as well, or it'll kind of just integrate naturally with the rest of the ecosystem, because when you add balance to your Proton account with Bitcoin, it's on the whole Proton account, is my understanding. So, but anyway, so that happened. So thank you to everyone who committed to the main idea or the main statement at the bottom of the petition. I think some people maybe didn't see it, was that you're signing this petition with the assumption that you're going to be paying for a Proton product, or you already do, and you want to pay for one with Monero. That was kind of the goal, is because they're an organization. They're, the base company that owns Proton is a nonprofit, but Proton themselves are still sort of a business. So they need to see that there's a lot of people who are actually going to use this payment method if they're going to, spend the time integrating it. So that's what he wanted to see. I'm sure a lot of people signed it anyway, regardless of whether they use Proton or not. But in the end, it did reach over 1,000 signatures, and I had it declared victory. So it's very cool to see. People have been asking this for years and years and years, and I think that's why some people have a bad taste of Proton right now, is because they have been asked a lot for years and years and years, and they didn't do it yet. And there are some people who are suspicious of them suddenly doing it now. Now, I just want to be clear that Proton as a whole, not everyone is the same person on the organization, because there are various social media accounts from Proton that has said, joked about adding shit coins. I think the Proton wallet specifically joked about adding shit coins or whatever. And there's been some unfavorable comments for altcoins, but once again, it's not like somebody or one account on the Proton organization represents the entire organization. I think Andy Yen had said on a podcast with Seth last year that they weren't going to do it because of issues with auditors. Like adding Bitcoin was already hard enough. I don't know how true that is today. I don't know like the details of that now. Presumably they have support for paying with a bunch of other cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin. But I will. Well, I already got in contact with David Peterson just to ask and see what they were thinking about integrating and providing any help or suggestions with that if needed. So I'm curious to see what'll happen. I think they will do it, at least for Proton VPN. He seemed like he wanted it to happen. So cool to see. I can understand why some people were, a little bit suspicious or.
I think people were, number one, there's like, why are we begging some privacy tech company to accept our business when we're all a bunch of privacy tech users that want to use their product? And we're not asking them to accept Dogecoin. We're saying use the best tool for purposes of buying something like a Proton Mail subscription. And here we all are. We want to use our Monero for it. Just accept, like, we shouldn't have to beg for that. That should be,
that was kind of the main
that should align with their business and their business model and like their ethos and what they're supposed to represent. So it's just weird that they're like reluctant to do this. I mean, what is the reluctance? Is it that they're using some like crazy way of accepting payments, that it's complicated? I mean, why
before they really did only have just Bitcoin
Monero?
And they had a custom integration with Bitcoin, which probably was, a lot of time on their end. Now I think they have, they might have BitPay. I haven't looked in a while, but I've heard they have BitPay, which is that really terrible crypto payment processor. But of course, they don't have Monero, and BitPay is never going to have Monero.
Right. Okay. Well, it sounds like they just got to get their shit together then. Like, if they're this, like, they should be using BTC Pay Server, right? And accepting.
Well, that's kind of in maintenance for Monero right now, so even that's not really necessarily the option. So there are other options. Fix that.
Step up.
Yeah.
Whatever. I signed the petition, but I was reluctant when I signed it. I was like, this is stupid. And then like the whole idea that you're kind of like publicly announcing, right? It's like kind of antithetical to the privacy community. We're like, let's all put ourselves on a list.
Well, right? The thing is that you don't have to, nobody had to use a real email address or a real name. You could have used an alias email, you could have used a fake name. So that there was never any like,
I mean, I used the real one just because I'm a public persona, so it doesn't matter anyway. Like,
and in hindsight, if I were to do something like this again, I would probably find a service that was more privacy respecting. I just saw this interaction and I was like, oh, I'm going to make this petition. And
super cool. Yeah. And you got it done in a week, right? And now the onus is on them, right? So if they don't add Monero at this point, then we're all completely.
Yes. So basically it's kind of a calling their bluff, which like, once again, like I understand why people were suspicious, but what I don't quite understand, I definitely don't agree with, is the kind, like there was a lot of hostility brought towards doing this because you're begging a for-profit company. And it's like, we're not at this point, we're not begging. There was a written statement about an agreement to add it, which I don't know if that ever happened in the same way before. If you get a petition with X amount of people. So we made that happen. So now it's on David Peterson and his team to integrate support for Monero within Proton VPN. And if that doesn't happen, then at that point, there's no reason that I would even care to use Proton services anymore, just on the basis of them not fulfilling their part in that agreement. And then I wouldn't them anymore anyway. So it's on them. So really, it's ultimately a good thing, right? I see this as ultimately a good thing for multiple points, is because for one, we're calling their bluff. For two, we actually got a concrete written statement from a general manager of a Proton product saying they will add support. And then three, it's ultimately good for Monero adoption anyway. And then if they don't fall through with it, then that's just showing us once again that they aren't going to keep their word on that, and they actually, for whatever reason, can't do it.
And the fact that we actually got the 1,000 signatures shows that there's
in such a short period of time, even with all of the people that were like, don't want to use they should have added by now. Like there are some reasons that people gave for not wanting to use Proton that were unrelated to the Monero aspect. It's because they say they're like a web honeypot or whatever. But there are a lot of people who are just holding personal grudges against Proton for not adding Monero by now, which I get it. They probably should have done it, but that is also a very loser and entitled like mind, like a viewpoint, especially at this point when we're able to make it happen. You know, why would you hold this silly personal grudge when we're actually able to make it happen now, right? Like it's able to be fulfilled finally. So maybe like let it happen. So I don't know, but that's kind of my thoughts on that.
All right, well, we'll see what happens this week.
And if I can even make it even more like,
I'll probably just say it's going to take a while to add. Yes, we'll do it.
It might take a little while, but he also said, David Peterson also said himself, it was already on the roadmap. It just didn't have priority because once again, they're like I think that's where kind of people are like having a misunderstanding of like larger organizations and companies, that they have a priority list of things, and if this thing is not going to make them that much money, then it's just sometimes just not going to happen, even if it matches the privacy ethos. It's just not going to happen. So, and why it didn't happen in the past, I don't know, because I know there was a user request on their user request form for like that had a few thousand upvotes for adding Monero years ago, and they never did it. I can't tell you why it didn't happen before, but it looks like it's happening now, at the very least for Proton VPN, with the hope that it will extend to the Proton account in general or the other products. So I just think it's ultimately a good thing for Monero, even if you don't like Proton or you disagree. If they don't fit in your privacy maximalist use case, I think it's ultimately a good thing anyway. I don't see anything wrong with them adding Monero support. So
yeah, 100%. Well, it's just the way it went down. It's annoying, but yeah, I think it's all good. It's great that you accomplished it and got 1,000 people, or appeared to have gotten 1,000 people to sign it. And Now ball is in their court, right? Like if they want to, and they will add it.
Yep.
They will add it. And it shows the power of the community, what can be done when we vote with our wallet, so to speak, right? We tell people like we'll bring our service to them. They'll adopt Monero. So definitely, a good strategy, right? We can apply it to other places, other things, and get more businesses to accept Monero. We got to get Proton Mail on XMR Bazaar once they officially agree. Actually, that is a way to currently buy your Proton Mail subscription via XMR Bazaar. People, I do see.
With a gift card.
That service. They'll buy it for you or whatever.
That's almost like the way that like a lot of people were pointing to Nota, but they don't accept Monero like directly. You have to buy a gift card.
It's not direct, right? You're buying a gift card. That's lame.
So it's kind of
the only thing with these, if anything, Proton Mail should also be like, and we'll hold some of our Monero, and that would be like impressive. Like, okay, now you guys are a private.
Yeah, I doubt that'll happen, but it's just the first step. It's the first step.
Monero Talk LLC is the micro strategy of Monero. All our reserves are in Monero. Everything. Obviously, sometimes
this is true,
and other things. But yeah. So I'm sure we'll start to see more companies talking like that as well. Those moments are going to happen, guys. 100%. I know it like feels crazy, like, but we'll go through that phase as well.
Yep.
I'm sure.
So, yeah. Thank you to everyone that signed and shared. There's a lot of big accounts that shared it to help it, help reach that number. It is surprising how many.
In the future, can we use like Kuno instead? And it's just like you just got to send like 0.001 Monero to represent.
That would definitely be potentially an anti-spam case. There was another open source option I saw, like a self-hostable option that you could use that was like privacy respecting for creating, like it was more like almost like an open letter. Not quite in the same way that change.org does petition, but there are definitely some different ways we could do it in the future, providing more privacy or having
Yeah, maybe we could run it on XMR Bazaar. That could be a feature for how we add new Monero accepting, but we start like Kickstarters for them. That'd actually be kind of cool. Where people donate like small amount of Monero. If you reach X amount.
Yeah, so here's the actual exchange. So this kind of started last week. I was asking, why doesn't Proton accept Monero by now? And then GNU Keith also spread that, he quote tweeted that, and basically was just, asking the same question and saying that they should add Monero support. And then David Peterson saw this and decided to make an agreement with this little 5-part messages here. So here's the deal. So Proton already takes payments via cash and prepaid debit cards. Bitcoin is supported directly in the other top 10 cryptocurrencies via third parties. Monero support has been on the roadmap for a while, but ultimately it comes down to relative priorities. We've got a long list of what people want out of Proton. So what is the most important thing for us to focus our attention on? The primary utility of crypto payments is enabling access to people in countries who are otherwise cut off from the global payment rewards. It is mainly about BTC, USDT, etc. Monero is, let's face it, a bit niche. I agree and disagree, but we get.
I think it fits into the category of cryptos that people would actually want to use for buying Proton now.
I think they will see an uptick in crypto payments just because of how many people actually want to use Monero. But this next reads, we get hundreds of demands for Monero support, but it always seems to be from the same few people. And from the profile names, most of them look like Monero promoters rather than prospective Proton users. Raises the question, if we did prioritize it, would anyone use it? We'll be doing it eventually anyway. But I'll make this commitment right now. If someone gets an online petition together with 1,000 people saying they switch to Proton VPN if we supported Monero, then I guarantee that I'll get it crowbarred into the summer roadmap. So that was the actual.
I'll get it. What, crowbarred into the roadmap?
Crowbarred into the summer roadmap. Yep.
Oh, into the summer roadmap. All right. So it's got by the end of the summer.
Yep. Yeah. So that was a commitment basically this summer. So it's like a couple months, and of course, part of the petition was so that they could see how many they wanted to see in a short period of time how many people actually wanted to use XMR, use Monero to pay for Proton products, and that was kind of the goal. And I know we've had other stuff in the past, but I think this was more effective at conveying that there is like an actual demand for Monero on Proton because it happened in such a short period of time and it was consolidated to a specific agreement. So I think it's effective in that way instead of having like a 8-year-old feature request that has, a few thousand votes over the course of, 8 years. We consolidated 1,000 petition signing, assuming they're all legit, into a week. So that says something, right?